The Dreamer, Chapter 8, Part 2. I'd never spoken to anyone that way before, using that trembling, childish tone. It was humiliating, and I immediately felt ashamed. But then I recalled the way he walked to the door without so much as a backward glance, and the feelings came back all over again. Good, I thought with hostile satisfaction. I had never been angry, not even when I had been ridiculed and fired all that time ago. What was anger, anyway? I sat in my room and contemplated the definition. Simply, it was fierce irritation in consequence of resistance. That's all. A natural reaction to being thwarted. It felt good to have it defined. I found it intriguing and mystifying that somehow I had succumbed to these base, primitive impulses. But then no doubt they had been incited by the unusual stresses of my unique situation. A delayed reaction, perhaps. It is possible that the process of time travel, however it was done, somehow distorted the chemical makeup of my body or wreaked havoc on the electrical pulses of my brain. Only now was I feeling the after effects. That was the only explanation. I went to the mirror and looked at my reflection. My dress, which once seemed to have an almost magical quality to it, suddenly looked ridiculous to me. These women who tie themselves in knots with corsets and wear miles of ribbon in their hair and unserviceable attire, do it all for what? There was no logic to it at all. How could I have been swayed by so uneconomical a way to function? I violently yanked the ribbon out of my hair and dropped it on the floor, tears starting in my eyes from the pain. I paced restlessly in that bedroom, feeling oddly displaced and uncomfortable. I reflected on what I might have been doing on the ship at this time if we had still been at sea. Probably making the rounds on the upper deck, the captain perhaps explaining to me the different sails and their function while we strolled arm in arm. I could almost see his melancholy eyes squinting up at the horizon. My notes! Of course, that's it. That's my purpose, my meaning. I sat down, and I withdrew my papers and looked for my broken pencil, the one I found on the captain's desk on that first day. I sat there for many moments, unable to write a word. Nothing came. A queer case of writer's block. I drank a glass of water and did some yoga breathing to clear my head. Now that felt good. Relieved all that pent-up stress. I'd been neglecting my exercise for too long. I could see that now. In fact, that was probably the cause of the unpleasant scene downstairs. I couldn't sustain my stress-relieving exercise on the ship because the captain had always been with me all the time, day in, day out, without a moment of reprieve. It felt so good to finally be alone. Feeling suddenly tired, I dropped into the bed. I was weary, but still agitated. I rolled onto my side and tucked my hands under my cheek. Well, he did say he would be returning for dinner. I would try to convince him once again. I must. Compatibility between research partners was imperative. The integrity of the results was at stake. Surely he must see this. The breaking of glass, but before I could turn, I felt an explosion of pain on the back of my head, and then nothing.